The Fellowship of the Ring was formed to face an impossible task, to destroy the One Ring and defeat the Dark Lord Sauron. Together they crossed mountains, rivers and endless threats, but their journey didn't end with the fall of Sauron. After the ring was destroyed, each member of the Fellowship walked a different path, paths shaped by honor, sacrifice, healing and loss. This is the story of what happened after the quest was over. The One Ring was destroyed, Sauron was defeated. The Fellowship mission had succeeded, but not all its members lived to see the end. Boromir, son of Denethor, fell before the final victory. Though he had been tempted by the ring's power, in his last moments he redeemed himself. Defending Merry and Pippin from the forces of Sauron, Boromir fought violently, giving his life for his friends. His sacrifice became one of the first prices paid for the Fellowship's success. After the defeat of Sauron, Aragorn was crowned King Elessar, the rightful ruler of Gondor and Arnor. The White Tree of Gondor bloomed once more, a symbol of renewed hope. Soon after, Aragorn fulfilled another long-awaited promise. Arwen, daughter of Elrond, sailed from Rivendell to Gondor. There, beneath the bright banners of their united kingdoms, she and Aragorn were wed, a union of elf and man, love and destiny. Meanwhile, Frodo, Sam, Merry and Pippin set their sights on home. They believed the Shire would be untouched by war, but the evils they had fought against had already reached their doorstep. The Shire lay in ruins. Trees were felled, gardens destroyed, and strange rules enforced by a mysterious figure known only as Sharky. The hobbits quickly realized that Sharky was none other than Saruman himself. In Peter Jackson's films, it is shown that Grima Wormtongue killed Saruman at Isengard, but Tolkien's original story is different. While in the books Saruman survived the fall of Isengard, though stripped of his former power, he escaped, traveling north and secretly taking control of the Shire under the name Sharky. Saruman corrupted the Shire with bitterness and malice, turning its people against each other and replacing peace with fear. Grima, broken and despised, became his servant even here. But the hobbits had changed too. They were no longer simple folk. They were heroes, battle-hardened and wise. Merry and Pippin led the charge, rallying the Shire against Saruman's rule. Sam, with the wisdom and courage he gained in his journey, helped restore the land itself, planting new gardens and trees. At last Saruman's reign was ended, not by armies or kings, but by the very people he had underestimated. In a final act of treachery, Saruman tried to destroy Frodo with words, but Frodo showed him mercy, a mercy Saruman repaid by turning on Frodo one last time. It was not Frodo, not Merry or Pippin, who ended Saruman's life. It was Grima Wormtongue, driven by years of abuse and despair, who struck down his master at Beckend. Moments later, Grima himself was slain by hobbit archers. With their deaths, the last shadow of the old evil was swept from the Shire. So Peter Jackson tried to stay close to Tolkien's original idea, but adapted this moment for cinematic pacing. The Shire was freed, peace had returned, but Frodo found little comfort in victory. Though the land healed, his own wounds, the ones no sword could reach, remained. Frodo tried to live as he once had, but the scars of his journey lingered. His nights were haunted by dark memories, old injuries ached with a cold that not fire could warm. And though he smiled for his friends, in his heart he carried a pain that the Shire could not cure. Gandalf too had completed his task. No longer needed as a guide or protector, he prepared for his final journey. Alongside Frodo, Bilbo, Galadriel and Elrond, he was granted passage to the Undying Lands, a place beyond Middle-earth, where wounds could be healed and their spirits could find rest. Together they set sail from the Grey Havens, leaving behind the world they had saved. Frodo's story did not end with the destruction of the ring, it ended with a quiet farewell and a hope for healing across the sea. As the white ship sailed west into the setting sun, samwise Gamgee stood at the grey havens, watching his dearest friend disappear beyond the horizon. Frodo was gone, carrying with him the final chapter of their great journey. Sam returned to the Shire carrying the burden of both grief and hope. Though his heart ached for Frodo, he knew that life must go on, and that he had a promise to keep, to build, to heal, and to help the Shire flourish again. And so he did. Sam married Rosie Cotton, his childhood sweetheart, and together they rebuilt their lives amid the green hills of home. They had 13 children, filling the Shire once more with laughter, love, and life. Sam's wisdom and kindness did not go unnoticed. He was elected mayor of the Shire, not once, but 7 times, serving with humility and a sense of duty learned from his long road beside Frodo. He helped restore gardens, replant trees gifted by Galadriel herself, and rebuilt a community shaken by war. At the end of his life, after Rosie's passing and after seeing his children grown and thriving, Sam set out on one final journey. He left the Shire behind and traveled west, carrying with him the memory of Frodo, of the Fellowship, and of a world he had helped to save. It is said that samwise Gamgee was granted passage across the sea to the Undying Lands, where he would find peace at last, reunited perhaps with the friend he had followed through darkness and fire. While Sam stayed to heal and rebuild the Shire, Merry and Pippin's journey took them beyond its borders. They were no longer just mischievous hobbits, they had become warriors and leaders, forever changed by the battles they had fought. Meriadoc Brandybuck, or Merry, became the master of Buckland, the leader of the powerful Brandybuck family and protector of the eastern borders of the Shire. He married Estella Bolger, a kind and spirited hobbit, and together they had a family, ensuring that the legacy of the Brandybucks would continue for generations. Peregrine Took, or Pippin, became the Thane of the Shire, the highest authority in the country. He married Diamond of Longcleave, a gentle but resilient hobbit maiden. Their son Faramir Took, named after Pippin's great friend Faramir of Gondor, would one day succeed him as Thane. For many years, Merry and Pippin led their people with the same bravery and loyalty they had shown during the war. They brought wisdom to the Shire's governance, and joy to its celebrations, never losing their love for laughter, song and good company. In their later years, after stepping down from their duties, Merry and Pippin journeyed together one final time to Gondor. They traveled to Minas Tirith, the white city they had helped defend, to spend their last days close to their friends and memories they cherished most. Upon their deaths, Merry and Pippin were laid to rest with high honor in Rhos Dinen, the silent street of Gondor, near the tomb of King Elessar, Aragorn, their beloved friend and king. Their resting places stood as a reminder of a bond that had transcended races, distance, and even time, the loyalty between men and hobbits sealed forever in stone and memory. King Elessar, Aragorn, son of Arathorn, ruled the reunited kingdom of Gondor and Arnor with wisdom, strength and mercy. His reign ushered in an era of peace and renewal across Middle-earth. Under Aragorn's leadership, ancient alliances were reforged, and the great cities of Gondor and Arnor flourished once more. He honored all the free peoples, men, elves, dwarves and hobbits, ensuring that the Fellowship's spirit of unity would never be forgotten. Beside him stood Arwen, his beloved queen. Their marriage united the lines of elves and men, fulfilling the hope of ages past. Together they had a son, Eldarin, who would one day inherit the throne. Though Arwen's choice to embrace mortality meant giving up the undying life of the elves, she found joy and fulfillment at Aragorn's side for many long years. After 120 years as king, Aragorn sensed that his time in Middle-earth was drawing to a close. following the traditions of his Númenórean ancestors, he chose to lay down his life willingly, passing the crown to Eldarion. In their final moments together, Aragorn offered Arwen words of comfort and love, though her heart was broken. She had given up the Undying Lands for him, and now she would face the slow sorrow of mortal life alone. After Aragorn's death, Arwen departed from Minas Tirith and journeyed alone to the abandoned land of Lothlorien. There, among the fading beauty of the Golden Wood, where she and Aragorn had once pledged their love, she lay down beneath the trees and passed away. Her grave remained unmarked, a silent memory of elven grace and mortal sorrow. As I said earlier, Aragorn, Merry and Pippin were laid to rest in Ras Dinen, the silent street of kings in Minas Tirith. While the world of men entered a new age, the last two members of the Fellowship also found their own path forward, paths shaped by friendship, wonder and the slow fading of their peoples. Legolas, prince of the Woodland realm, did not remain in Gondor long after the death of Aragorn. Though he honored his vow of loyalty to the king, the sea longing that had awakened in his heart, a call that no elf could resist, grew stronger with each passing year. Before he departed Middle-earth, Legolas fulfilled a promise he had made to his dearest friend. With Gimli by his side, he explored the great wonders of the world, the forests of Fangorn, the ruins of Helm's Deep, and the caves beneath Aglarond, the glittering caves of Rohan, which Gimli loved more than any treasure. Gimli, the son of Glóin, became lord of the glittering caves. His people worked with the men of Rohan and Gondor, helping to rebuild after the wars. Gimli's skill in stonework and craftsmanship became legendary, and many of the White City's greatest repairs were done under his guidance. Their friendship, once thought impossible between elf and dwarf, grew deeper with time, a living symbol that old hatreds could be overcome. At last, when the weight of years grew too great, Legolas built a grey ship and sailed from the shores of Middle-earth toward Valinor, the Undying Lands, and with him, incredibly, he took Gimli. It is said that Gimli, because of his great deeds and the purity of his friendship with Legolas, was granted special permission to pass into the West, a gift no other dwarf has ever received. The Fellowship of the Ring succeeded in their quest, but their journey did not end with the destruction of the Ring. Each member returned to a different life, some finding peace, others carrying lasting wounds. They went their separate ways, but the bond they shared remained strong to the end. Their actions helped shape the Fourth Age of Middle-earth, and their names lived on in the history of the world they saved. The story of the Fellowship is not just about defeating evil, but about loyalty, sacrifice and friendship, and how even the smallest people can change the course of the future.